Dear Mom, even though we weren't that close for most of our lives, I miss you. Now, some might think that sentence is a tad cruel, but knowing you and remembering that conversation we had that last night, the Last Supper of your life, melodramatic but true, I sense you'd understand what I'm trying to say. Do you know the timing of your death made sense to me, even though there were no glaring signs? You hadn't appeared sick. But for over a year, I expected your ending, and I spent every holiday with you. At our last Christmas together, you handed me a 40-year-old manila folder you kept in your metal filing cabinet next to your desk. You gestured with your hand, sit. And we sat, side by side at your scratched wooden kitchen table while I fingered the documents. In there was my birth certificate, honor roll certificates, and report cards. As I touched this history, oddly I felt nothing. No connection to my own past. What did this stack of dusty, fading documents have to do with the chaos of my childhood? 8 siblings without a referee. But what I did feel was your undivided attention on me, which was maybe a first, and that felt wonderful. As I watched you watching me, with your elbows resting on the table, once a big no-no for us kids, I realized this moment wasn't about me. So I mustered up some oohs and ahs for those old documents. And that night, I wrote in my journal, my mother is going to die soon. Is there anything I need to ask or tell her? And 15 days later, you did die, quietly, in your bed, at home. Now, I'm eager to begin our after-death dialogues, which are sadly a monologue, with a moment where I felt happy. I notice those moments more as I get older. Happiness flickered in on a Sunday morning when I was at my stove making scrambled eggs for my 2 kids. Mom, you loved leisurely Sunday morning rituals. Dad would make you breakfast while you sat at the dining room table in your robe and slippers with your New York Times Magazine crossword puzzle, a pen. A fucking pen. Am I allowed to say that word to you now? Yes, I just did. And black coffee. I never got that black on the thing. Most you and Dad drank it that way. Did you know your daughter's a sissy coffee drinker? Buckets of cream, loads of sugar, and when available, chocolate syrup. Did you know your daughter's also a sissy gin drinker? Cosmos instead of martinis. Sadly, I can't even drink those anymore. But what I want to get to is, do you remember that Boxing Day celebration in my home the year before your death? Because that's when I first realized your days were numbered. Not that I said anything to you at the time. And it wasn't that you looked sick. Sure, you had knee surgery, shoulder surgery, back surgery, like all the other old people that never worked out. What struck me as obvious that day is what you said while we were wishing each other happy holiday. God knows the holidays were hard without my Bob. Almost 3 years earlier, the complications from colon cancer had taken him from Rhapsody, Bucky, and I had taken great pains not to be home at Christmas. The first year, I went with you and Dad to my sister Bowie's house in Arizona, and the second, to my in-laws in Hilton Head. The following year, I told the kids, we're going to the Bahamas for Christmas! They seemed fine with that. Back then, those 2 believed anything I told them with a smile and a few head nods. Then I said, it's too much work for Santa to bring all your presents to the island. One Christmas morning, and the rest at home with Grandma and Papa to help open. Roxy understood. Yeah, Santa would get all sweaty. And Bucky nodded his head, yeah. We had 4 days and 3 nights of fun on the beach. On Christmas Eve, we went to a restaurant where we saw sharks swimming in the ocean. And on December 26th, we flew home. And I had prearranged for you and Dad to meet us at our apartment complex. Mom, your Christmases with 10 people opening presents was a tough act to follow. I never told you this, but nothing compares. You were the one who bought all our gifts using your Christmas club money. You'd begin in October and spend over 2 months getting everything just right. And that left Dad with only you to shop for, and he always rushed out on Christmas Eve with one of the girls to buy something cheap like costume jewelry at one of the last-minute sales. Dad's real job was setting in motion the Christmas you dreamed of each year. He says now, it was all Barbara. I was just the mechanic who could do what she needed. Christmas morning, Dad would saunter downstairs alone and announce in his loud, goofy voice, feigning surprise, "Looks like somebody's been here!" He'd turn on the tree lights, get the Super 8 camera ready, and put on a pot of coffee. At the top of the stairs, we would form a line from youngest to oldest, which put me first. All the girls were wearing those long pink pajama gowns that Grandma sent from Chicago every year, and our hair was done up in those hard pink teethy rollers with dippity-doo strand before rolling. Did that goop add extra body or longer hold? When I think about those curlers 30 years later, I can still feel them pushing on my skull when I was trying to fall asleep, my heart racing with excitement for the morning to come. On Dad's signal, I would lead the march down the beige carpeted staircase. Dad's video, and in later years a Polaroid, would catch my wide eyes and my huge gummy grin at the sight of the mounds of presents. 2 feet high and 3 feet deep, surrounding the tree we all had decorated. We had been trained not to open the presents from Santa right away, and I only goofed one year when I saw the outline for the Barbie airplane that I had longed for, and I tore the paper away immediately. You wanted us to sort the helter-skelter presents into neat piles by name. So for a good 15 minutes you'd hear, "Jerry, yes! Katie, over here! Bowie, here!" And then each of us would take our pile of loot and stack it in our favorite spot on the couch or living room floor. We'd sit in this giant oval and open presents one at a time in birth order, beginning with me. Dad told me later that this tradition came from your side of the family. Of course, it was heaven to go first. But having to wait for a whole round to be complete before opening my next gift was torture. I'd sit there with the box in my lap, ready to rip, rip. Dad took his own sweet time opening his. Now that I'm a parent myself, I can imagine how satisfying it must have been for you to see each present opened and each child's reaction to each gift. We weren't rich, but this was a day you were a little extravagant with us. So many of the things we owned were second and third hand, clothes, furniture, even cars. But on this day, thanks to you, everything was new and wonderful. Now I want to fast forward, Mom, to Boxing Day, 2003, my apartment complex. Rhapsody, Bucky, and I are arriving home in a yellow taxi from the airport to find you, Dad, and my sister Liz standing at our glass lobby doors, carrying Beefeater's gin, Chardonnay, and leftover appetizers. You had celebrated Christmas the day before in your home with 6 of my siblings, their spouses, and your grandkids. Even though I was expecting your visit, I was surprised at how much joy I felt seeing the 3 of you wave to me when we stepped out of the cab. Did I tell you being alone on the holidays is hard? You had 8 kids, an attentive husband, and you died first. So you can't know how hard. Together, we all rode the elevator up to my 3rd floor apartment with views of Manhattan, where Rapsy and Bucky were ecstatic to discover that Santa had indeed remembered them. I had a neighbor put out the presents for me. On the cab ride over from the airport, Rhapsody had tried to bribe Bucky into letting her open her present first. And I told her, no, on tradition, youngest first. While they opened their presents, we ate and drank and enjoyed their excited responses. And then I asked you, so Mom, how was your holiday? And you answered, oh, Katie, it was wonderful. I wish you could have been there. Everyone got along. I quickly looked out at my Manhattan skyline, which outlined against the eastern sky looked like the ups and downs of an EKG reading. I felt a pang of jealousy, but mostly I was happy for you. No one fighting in our large family on a holiday was a rarity. But my mind, it quickly focused on your voice. The look of it was different. It was light and loving, which was different than your usual speaking voice, which is heavier, more resigned like your favorite A.A. Milne character, Eeyore. And then you said, oh, Katie, I do want to live and see what happens in the grandchildren's stories. Your sentence struck me hard because I felt like I had missed key moments, telling moments in my own husband's death. 12 days before Bob died, he said, I saw a book on the Today Show. Don't let death ruin your life. Don't take this the wrong way, but buy the book. Now, at this point, his imminent death wasn't on my radar or anyone else's. I was present, but in denial. The morning he died, I bought the book, and I found comfort in it. Mom, when I became a widow, my listening changed. It was as if decades of noise and wax buildup was vacuumed out, and I was given a newborn's ears. Words came alive. I listened closely to what people said and how honest their words felt to me. I asked myself, did they mean what they just said? Now, that morning, did you mean what you said? You said you wanted to live. I mean, who says that in normal conversation? So that night, after you left, I wrote in my journal this. Don't miss another holiday with Mom. You've been gone 3 years and 7 months now. Now more than ever, I wish we could talk. Some days I'm so lost. How did you raise 8 kids and not lose your mind? Were you who you wanted to be? I'm okay you died when you did. I mean, sure, I wanted more time with you. But in our last year together, I felt directly connected to you. I stopped judging you. say that about Dad. And I don't want him to die before I figure me and him out.